Oh. Right. Is everyone here? I'd like to, officially, we'll start the September meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone here today, the press and the public. First, I'd just like to acknowledgement of country. Council acknowledges the Wiradjuri people, the traditional custodians of land at which the meeting is held, and pays its respects to elders past and present of the Wiradjuri nation, and extends that respect to other Aboriginal people who are present. I'd like someone move to adjourn the meeting. Move, Councillor Kelly. Second, Councillor Palmer. We go into open forum. And first, in open forum, Hilary Connors we have. Hilary, if you'd like to come up to the lectern, thanks. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you for this opportunity to give you a brief overview about the Stronger Country Communities Fund application. The council is putting in for the second stage of rejuvenation works on the Marama Hall. And I would also like to thank council for their support of the successful application in 2018 for stage one of the works that is almost complete. My name's Hilary Connors. I'm a resident of Marama, and last year was elected president of the Marama Hall Committee. Just to recap, stage one of the works involved the removal of a lot of dirt from underneath the hall, and that'll be used to divert water away from that area, and then the removal of all the timber flooring, and that is being replaced with Australian native hardwood, and the re-levelling of the frame, and what else? All sorts of things. That's right. All the replacement, of course, of the rotten piers. That's been done with concrete and steel, with solid big bearers over the top, which now supports the most magnificent turpentine floor you could imagine. It looks absolutely amazing. So right now there are posts on Facebook, and they're getting wonderful reviews and responses, mostly from people who've attended dances and performances and concerts and things like that over the years, birthday parties in the hall over generations, and their family before them. And they're all saying, can't wait to dance again. So that's looking very, very positive from other people. I've made myself some points so I don't forget to tell you things. So that's all very good. You know, as you know, the Marama Hall was opened in 1925 and had been built by World War I veterans and added onto over the years by their ancestors, their descendants, and also the local community. It has a very rich history and was used by generations over those decades for so many different purposes. There is also a little ticket office at the side, which is still there and is being retained, and that was so people could buy their tickets to performances. Stage two will focus on replacing the really severely damaged skillion area that houses the kitchen and the supper room. And I must admit and let you know that council staff have been very helpful in our discussions with builders and to ensure that not only the heritage aspects of the building are maintained, but a really, how can I put it, that's right, aiming. We were aiming for as much low maintenance of the final structure as possible. The committee members have agreed with this proposal, and that is a steel framed building, skillion, on a concrete slab. The fireplaces will be retained in keeping with the heritage of the building and in keeping also with the master plan. What else can I tell you? The windows, the 3 windows are being replaced like for like, and the door is as well. These works are largely structural and they don't include the fit out. The fit out of the kitchen is referred to in the master plan under stage 3. So the funds being sourced will basically put a really solid skillion back on there, and it will reuse as much as possible of the original materials, like the mini orb sheeting on the outside. That's going to be retained for heritage purposes, and also the Oregon rafters. Most of them can be reused. So I just want to say we firmly believe that the Marama Hall will be used again, this time by an even more diverse range of people and groups, as you will probably see in letters of support. Thank you.
Thanks, Uri. And tonight we have a late report, which is 831, which is our list of projects we're putting in, and I can report that the Marama Hall is on that, what you have just spoken about, for Stronger Country Communities Round 3.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for your Uri.
Turn this off now.
No, we'll have another man come up here. Thanks, Uri, much appreciated. Now we have Keith Turner. Keith, if you'd like to come up.
Thank you. Good to be here. And that lady just brought back very many memories to me, because I played for quite a few dances out there. I was an old drummer.
That's in the Nutcrackers, wasn't it?
That Nutcracker days, yes. Great name too, yeah. So anyway, it brings back a lot of memories. Some I can't talk about. I came here February 12 months ago with a sign about for the dog in the tucker box. I went away and I went to the Tourist Action Group, and they sitting there talking to them, and one of the people said, well, we'll look for the sign I want to put up out the dog in the tucker box. I said, we'll ask for $20,000. Well, I nearly fell off the chair. I didn't expect that sort of money to be asked for. But anyway, just to cut it very short, you were very kind. You gave us the $20,000. I then worked with Miriam Crane, and very thankful to Miriam for her help, and Joe Morton. We're the only 3 that worked on it, and we did change it a few times till we came with the idea that we thought. And I do appreciate what you people, by giving us that $20,000, I do appreciate from myself, and I know from Joe, and I know from Miriam, what you've done. And I think if you've seen that sign out there, I think it's a full credit to Joe for what he's done. And I do thank you once again from myself, because I've had many involvements with the Shire over the years and never had always been a successful outcome. So tonight, I do thank you personally for what you've done for Gundagai and what you've done for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. And yeah, I'd like to reiterate from council's point of view with yourself and Miriam and Joe. I know Joe might have gave you a few heart attacks occasionally, and but we really, really appreciate what you did out there, and that's a fantastic sign. And anyone that hasn't seen it, I recommend they go and have a look at it. But and the story that you wrote and everything is beautiful. So thanks, Keith. Much appreciated.
I'll just say quickly, this is what whatever you do with the dog out there, I go out there a lot and to collect the money, as you know, and I talk to people and go on. When you go to fix the dog up, the lady out there at the moment has done a terrific job as far as I'm concerned. It is really lovely to walk into it. All around it is lovely and clean. I think Rose she is doing a great job. She's going along pretty well. As I was talking to her this afternoon, and she said everything's going along well. I said, well, it's only going to get better in the summertime. But when you go to do something with the dog, I don't believe it needs commercialising. It's a part of history. And that's It's a part of the Bullickies. It's a part of history. And as I probably told the story out there where the dog ate the food, I won't say it. I know it, Phil looking at me, I know where it said he shit in the tucker box. But that's what it's all about. Not about commercialising and putting a lot of things there. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, once again, thanks very much.
Thank you, Keith. That's all now for open forum, so I'd move someone to resume the open meeting. Move Councillor Nicholson, second Councillor Bowden. All in favour, carried. Apologies, there's nil apologies. Disclosure of interest, I've got two. I've got Councillor Graham for 8.4.5, which is a director of the business, and Councillor Nicholson 8.1.15. She's Councillor Nicholson is 8.1.15, which is the Greg, which he is a member of, and our GM will be for 5.2 minutes on the extraordinary meeting of the council held on Friday, the 13th September. First, we're doing the minutes from last meeting first, or you do the election? Minutes from the last meeting. Any questions? We spoke about a few that I had.
I'd like to move that Mr. Mayor.
Move Councillor Nicholson, seconded Councillor Bowden. All in favour? Carried. Now, disclosure of interest, I've got that. Confirmation of the minutes. Mayoral minutes on page 33.
29.
Oh, 29, mate. Oh, minutes of the extraordinary meeting. Someone like to move, they be accepted as read. Move Councillor Graham, second Councillor Sheen. All in favour. You might tell Phil he can come back in now. 29, we go to 33. Mayoral minutes. Everyone happy with the mayoral minutes? Someone like to move, they be accepted. Move Councillor Bowden, second Councillor Palmer. All in favour? Carried. So we're doing the Access Committee. Access Committee, you've got a recommendation there. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there might be two, Charlie. Yeah. Oh, yes. The first one, you want to speak to it, Councillor Sheen?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The Access Committee has got a couple of recommendations there.
That just
Yeah, wait a minute, I'm just trying to.
I'm just going to ask you what it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, that council purchased a 200 kilogram waterproof wheelchair and a portable lift for the Gundagai pool, and then investigate options to install an adult change facility. There was a bit of concern about room for that, so they opted for the portable lift. There was a recommendation too supporting the 40k zone of the main street.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere. 3.2, that's it. With the signage, which I have spoken to Phil about, which council already has and intend to implement, which will clearly identify where the pedestrian refuges are. Also, the extension, well, we weren't sure what the 40k zone included, and the recommendation came to include the Cenotaph end of town, which I show on the planning doesn't. It cuts it out at about the medical centre, but the committee felt that with the visitors that attend the bridges as a tourist attraction, that full length of the Sheridan Street be considered as a shared pedestrian zone.
So everyone's seen that other recommendation there?
So I'll move that be accepted.
I'm happy to second it, Mr Mayor. Move Councillor Shane, second Councillor Kelly. All in favour? No, anyone, any other one to talk?
Mr Mayor, I'm just curious about the implications of the change of that extension of that 40-kilometre zone, the implications with regard to the roads. I'm sorry, they've changed their name just recently. Transport for New South Wales? Yeah. What are the implications with that?
So council's made an application and that's been approved, and it's for the 40k zone starting on the far side of the medical centre to give people advance warning. You've got to put the 40k signs up. To do it anywhere near the cenotaph, you've got 5 intersections that you would need to signpost. So there was a decision made to do it that way. It's a slow speed environment around the cenotaph because of, you know, there's nowhere to build up speed anyway. So I'm not aware of any pedestrian near misses or anything in that area. So I'd be more comfortable if you left it the way that the application's been approved for Transport for New South Wales.
Yeah, I'm only reporting like from the Access Committee, that's all. But yeah, no, from the Traffic Committee point of view, I can understand that argument too. Yeah.
Right, yeah, that was moved and seconded. You got that? All in favour? Carried. Phil, criminal manager's report.
Okay, item 1 is the election of Mayor for the 2019-20 term. This means, Mr Mayor, that you need to vacate the chair and I become the returning officer who will conduct the election.
You want to move and second the recommendation?
Hang on, just first job, as returning officer, I need to read out the names of the nominees and seek confirmation that the nominees have accepted the positions. So can I just ask, in advance of the meeting, we gave the opportunity for all nominations to be put forward. Is there any other further nominations than the 4 that I've received tonight? Is anything coming from the floor? Okay, so there are 2 nominees for the role of Mayor, and there is also 2 nominees for the role of Deputy Mayor. So the first thing we need to do is ask for a motion to be put forward by one of the councillors on the preferred method of voting for the election of a chairperson. This must be then seconded and voted by the councillors. So in the report, we talk about a vote being either preferential ballot, ordinary ballot, or open voting by hand. So I'd like a councillor to move a motion, please, in terms of what your preference is for that process. Open voting is by show of hand, or ordinary ballot or is by pieces of paper and a count done at the front. So up to you guys. Preferential is probably not appropriate. You've only got 2 applicants for both. So preferential we can rule out. Are we comfortable with that? That's good. So really you just need a decision on whether you want open voting or you want an ordinary ballot, which is write names on a bit of paper, we count it at the front.
I would like to second that.
So we had a mover for ordinary ballot and a seconder.
Can you get move Councillor Payne, second Councillor Nicholson? All in favour? Everyone, majority.
Okay, so are councillors comfortable in writing the name of the two? I'm sorry, I should nominate the people too. So the nominees for mayor are Charlie Sheen. And Charlie, do you accept that nomination? And the other nominee is McAllister. Do you accept that nomination? Sorry. So we've got those two particular gents. Do you wish to just hand out a piece of paper, a ballot paper, and you write the name on it, or we can draw names out of a hat and put one candidate first, one candidate second, and you put an X next to their name? Are you comfortable that we write a name? I need to hand these out and just initial them. It's part of due process. Sorry. So just bear with me. So you'll be voting for the mayor for the next 12 months. So you need to put the name of McAllister or the name Charlie Sheen on it. Marianne has got a... Marianne has then got... We'll walk around it with a ballot box and we'll collect them. Mary, can you and Mark unwrap them and do a count, and I'll just oversight that. Thank you. Does that count 5? Yeah. That's all you need to do.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd really like to thank Charlie for standing. It's a democratic process, and it's good to see that someone else wants to step up and have a go. And Charlie and I, we sat with each other for about 10 hours last week in the car, and we spoke about it. It won't make 1 ounce of difference who got it. If I won it, Charlie, there'd be no... How we think of each other and how we want to work together won't change. So, Charlie, I really appreciate, mate, you for putting your hand up. Firstly, just over the last 2 years, I'd like to firstly thank the community, members of the Cootamundra-Gundagai Regional Council, all the people from the rural land, the towns, the villages, for their support and working with council to deliver a lot of projects and just helping out in other ways with community functions and helping us function. I think it's extremely important that council takes the community along with them, and that's what we actually we do as a group of councillors. To the councillor staff, I'd really like to thank them for their great support, and to me and to the fellow councillors. It hasn't been easy for the staff over the last 40 months. There's been a lot of upheavals and a lot of new staff come in, old staff go. But I feel now that our staff are really starting to gel together, and there's a lot of harmony coming there, in which we need to have good staff that work well together with the councils and with the community to get progress. And I'm sure that's what we're really coming to get now, and it's coming together. So I'd really like to thank the staff for all the hard work, especially Phil, for taking over the interim GM for the last 10 months, and also to Mary Ann, who's been Phil's PA and also a good PA to me. She writes some letters and does a great job. So I'd really like to thank those two, but especially everyone, all the staff. To my fellow councillors for the support given to me over the last 2 years, and to the Cootamundra-Gundagai Regional Council and the communities. I think there's a lot of goodwill between the councils, and we work together for the betterment of the CGRC. When we were formed on the 17th of September, we had to confront many issues that weren't of our doing, following what I think was a very tumultuous period, 16-month period of administration for us here. There's a lot of things happened, a lot of things. So we know the issue, so I won't gel on them. And just merging two councils to one, it's something new to us. It's something new to what we had to do before as councillors. So I really thank you. And I think the last 2 years we've gradually started to work through those issues, and over the next 12 months, I think we've really got to focus on our finances, our expenditures and revenues. We've really got to look at that and our deficits, while still maintaining the services at the top standard that we now present to our communities. We need to keep looking at keeping our infrastructure up to date and in good order, and also working with the community and businesses and industry that we presently have in our community, but also working to encourage more businesses, industry, large and small, into our area. So we need to work cohesively with the community members, and and I think we'll get results. So once again, thank you very much to the councillors for voting me back in. I'll try and do my best. I've really enjoyed the last 2 years too, meeting, especially from Cooter side of view, meeting a lot of I had a lot of friends there before, but I've certainly got a lot more friends there now, and it's a great community as Gundagai is. So it's been a pleasure to work. I've enjoyed my 2 years, and I look forward to us putting in some hard work over the next 12 months so that we can have something to present to the council that can really make this council go ahead after the next election. So once again, thank you very much for your support, and thanks very much, Charlie, for stepping up tonight too.
I just have to officially declare that Adam McAllister, with the highest number of votes, is declared as mayor for the ensuing 12 months. So now we'll get on with the vote of deputy mayor, where we have two candidates. So we have Councillor Lee Bowden. So you accept your nomination. And we have Councillor Dennis Palmer. You accept your nomination. Okay. Again,
excuse me, through the chair, may we have the opportunity to speak about why I think I'm actually standing for deputy mayor?
I'd be supportive of that. Has any councillor got a specific objection, or?
I got no problem. I think we did that last year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll hand out the ballot papers, and Lee, you want to lead off?
Okay. Thank you. I understand the role of deputy mayor is to deputise for the mayor when the mayor is unavailable. And the reason I think I have some talent to stand for deputy mayor is that with the consent of the mayor, I have represented Cootamundra-Gundagai Regional Council at events that the mayor has been unable to attend. For example, I attended a roundtable consultation with the Small Business Commissioner, Robin Hobbs, at Junee in December 2018. I attended the inaugural Small Business Friendly Councils conference in Sydney earlier this year. I have represented the Mayor and Cootamundra-Gundagai Regional Council at Anzac commemorations at Stonkham Bingle for the past 2 years. And I have opened the Cootamundra Ecumenical Prayer Service in 2017 and 2018. I'm committed to the community and I've demonstrated community engagement across both the towns of Cootamundra and Gundagai and the 7 villages and localities. While new to the council, I am learning as much as possible, as quickly as possible, about the workings of local government. And I have availed myself of the training opportunities that have been provided to councillors. I have the ability to chair a council meeting. I have the ability to speak in public. And I have the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowden. Councillor Palmer, did you want to speak?
Yeah, just if I could, my role as deputy mayor, excuse me, for the last 2 years has been support and back up the mayor, which has not been an onerous task, but together we have formulated and directed council. I think I possess the majority of those skills that you do. You're probably a wee bit better in some aspects, but we, as a team of the last 2 years, I think we've proved that we have got this council on the straight and narrow line, and we're kicking goals. Thank you.
So with that, I'll ask all councillors to put a name of either Councillor Lee Bowden or Councillor Dennis Palmer on your ballot paper, and they'll be collected by Marianne and we'll go through the count.
Okay. Dennis Palmer. Dennis Palmer. Lee Bowden. Dennis Palmer. Dennis Palmer. That's fine.
No, that's all.
That's 5, Dennis Palmer.
So with the highest number of votes, I declare Dennis Palmer the deputy mayor, and that ends item 8.1.1.
Do you want to say something, Dennis?
If I could just quickly, before we move on, I'd like to thank fellow council for their vote of confidence in our team as it stands, and I hope this following year leaves this council in a very good position for a new council in 12 months' time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis, and I thank you for assisting me ably all this last 2 years. Phil,
Congratulations, and I look for as staff certainly look forward to working with the mayor, deputy mayor, and all councillors. And thanks for taking an interest in being a mayor and deputy mayor too. Item 8.1.3 is Stock and Bingle Elwood Hall 355 committee meeting minutes. There's a recommendation there that the extraordinary meeting held on the 22nd of August attached to the report be received and noted.
move councillor Graham, second councillor Palmer, all in favour.
Item 8.1.4 is the Cootamundra Heritage Centre Management 355 committee meeting minutes, and there's a recommendation there that the minutes of the committee meeting held the 2nd of September 2019 attached to the report be received and noted.
I'll move that way, Mr. Mayor.
Move councillor Nicholson, second councillor Stewart, all in favour.
Item 8.1.5 is the Cootamundra Tourism Action Group, Section 355 committee meeting minutes. There's a recommendation there that the minutes of the Cootamundra Tourism Action Committee meeting held on the 5th of September 2019 attached to the report be received and noted. And there is further some committee recommendations for council to consider.
Would someone like to move a recommendation or talk about the signage?
Yeah, I'm happy to, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Not a problem.
I'd like to add to the recommendations that council considers the cost of the electronic boards.
So, and a further report would have to come back to council with those costs once determined.
So councillor Shane moves that recommendation, second councillor Palmer, all in favour. Carried.
Sorry, item 8.1.6 is the Draft Agency Information Guide 2019. There's a recommendation that the guide attached to the report be adopted. Yeah, so I'm acting general manager at the moment, and my substantive position is deputy general manager. It's really just a case of who's in the chair there at the time.
Move councillor Phillips, second councillor Graham, all in favour. Carried. Page 77.
Item 8.1.7 is the Draft Privacy Management Plan. The recommendation there is that it be presented to council and be adopted.
Happy to move that way.
Yeah, move councillor Shane, second councillor Kelly, all in favour.
Item 8.1.8 is the Draft Statement of Business Ethics, and there's a recommendation there that the Statement of Business Ethics attached to the report be adopted.
Seconded.
Move councillor Palmer, second councillor Bowden, all in favour. Carried.
Item 8.1.9 is the Draft Equal Employment Opportunity Management Plan, and there's a recommendation there that the management plan attached to the report be adopted.
Move councillor Stewart, second councillor Nicholson, all in favour. Carried. Oh yeah, sorry mate. Yeah.
So the number of full-time equivalents we have at our council at the moment is 151 from memory.
That's what it was, yeah. I thought it was 51 or 52 here just couple of weeks back.
Yeah, there was a difference in three when we reviewed this at a workshop a couple of months ago. So it's pretty close to what it was.
94.
Item 8.1.10 is the draft managing unreasonable complainant conduct policy and procedure. There's a recommendation there that the draft policy and procedure risk assessment worksheet and unreasonable complaint conduct form attached to the report be adopted.
I'd like to move that with the alterations that were made during our discussion in the workshop.
So that alteration refers to item 20 with the additional wording of the police will be contacted and also any associated authorities.
Have it moved, councillor Hayden, seconded councillor Kelly. All in favour? On 07.
So item 8.1.11 is the Cootamundra-Gundagai Regional Council gifts for visiting dignitaries position. The recommendation there is that the practice for the provision of gift bags at the request of councillors in non-for-profit events be adopted, and that a nominal value of the gift bag be no greater than $100.
Yeah, moved, councillor Graham, seconded councillor Palmer. All in favour?
Item 8.1.12 is about shift, the report by Councillor Bowden and Miriam Crane. Councillor Bowden, would you like to?
I don't need to speak to it. I'll just move it. Thank you.
Moved, councillor Bowden, seconded councillor Phillips. All in favour? The report, actually. Just while we're talking about reports, after amalgamation forum we went to, there's a report come from Tara McCarthy today. I only just saw it tonight before the meeting. So a full report, which we can. Yeah.
Item 8.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, could we also add something about our own experience to that? Like, because that'll be beautiful. Thank you.
Sure.
Item 8.1.13 is the Australia Day for Awards for 2020. There's a recommendation that the information on the Australia Awards be received and noted. We've kind of got in a little bit earlier this year to make sure that we hit the deadlines.
Yeah.
Mr.
Move, councillor Graham, seconded councillor.
I just want to make a comment on it. Australia Day was one of the prompts, the ceremony of the Australia Day was one of the prompts that led to Resolution 142 on the 30th of April 2019, which read, Council develop a civic events and ceremonial functions policy, which was carried. To date, we haven't seen any progress on that policy, but I understand that there were some problems with the Australia Day function, particularly in Gundagai, and that those civic events and ceremonial functions policy would help in the smooth running of those events.
So, that was moved, count. Just while we're on that, there was something citizenships I've done. I didn't really write into it. And it was, they only allow them to be on Australia Day, or was it? Oh, right, mate. Yeah, right. Yeah, sorry, I just remember seeing it. Thanks, Councillor Cole. Now, Councillor Palmer moved that, seconded Councillor. Oh,
So we've got a resolution to create that policy, and I understand there has not been work done on that today. So I'll pick that up based on that comment, and we'll see what we can get back to the next council meeting.
Councillor Nicholson.
Mr. Mayor, could I just confirm with council that the boards, the recipient boards, have been taken away to be updated? Is that correct?
That is correct. So they're being signed written at the moment.
Can you please pass that on to Nancy if you see it too, mate? Now that was
Chair, if I may, rather than put them back in the chamber where no one sees them, weren't we going to put them
in Mirrabrook
in a more visual position?
Yeah, good idea. Now that was moved Councillor Graham, seconded Councillor Palmer, wasn't it? Phillips, I mean. I was going to say something before, but I won't say it this year, but I will. I bug it up. Right, all in favour, carry.
Item 8.1.14 is the Gundagai Historic Bridge Incorporated request for donation The recommendation is that council donate the sum of $1,464.84 for levied amounts of rates and water access charges for the 1920 financial year to the Historic Bridges Incorporated.
Move, councillor. Yeah.
If I could just make a comment, and I know I wasn't here for the workshop this afternoon, but I come in late. I haven't got an issue with us doing any of these things, provided it's already in our budget, because I'd hate to see our budget get worse. If the funding, other than that, we need to be really tough, and I think that's, yeah, as long as there's enough in there.
This has been something done previously.
I can't think exactly what the number is off the top of my head, but I might report to council on that next one. We might even add it to our monthly report where we're up to on that.
It's just that I'm very much aware that we have got a very large deficit budget this year already, and so if it's not in the budget, we should really have lots of discussion. I'm not saying we won't support anyone, but we need to be really sure that we're not making our position worse. And if we can save $5, we should.
Another just item of interest is we're likely to bring back a policy in relation to donations, and maybe have all of our donations summed at the start of the financial year before you adopt the budget, and then these sort of things are all adopted in one, and then you only get rare one-off type donations for special things that come along in the year, and we have our budget sort of set a little bit.
This would have been an ongoing one, but I understand where you're certainly coming from, Councillor Phillips, because you look at that deficit, we've got to look at our spend. So there is a donations policy going to be done up.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. We've had discussions with Phil. I think that was what he was just outlining, that rather than have donations come in dribs and drabs throughout the financial year, we advertise for community groups to put in expressions of interest for donation amounts from the amount of between $200 and maybe $5,000. That can be determined later, and that way we know what budget we have to start with. The applications come in. Similarly, councillors can review the applications, determine which applications are successful, and those organisations or people are similar to grant funding, they're acknowledged and advised, and there'll still be a little bit of residual funds in there for the odd ones that come along. For instance, lovely Casey Smith, who represented the area and the country overseas at athletics, where they don't know what's going to happen at the start of the year. So that's the crux of the new policy to be developed.
Right, that was moved, Councillor Graham, second Councillor Phillips. All in favour?
Item 8.1.15 is the Gundagai Regional Enhancement Group donation request. Councillor Nicholson's declared an interest.
This is something we spoke about earlier, but Greg is similar to Gundagai's, Cooter CDC. And this, it's not just decorations, it puts on the carnival at Christmas time, Christmas carnival. So it's an annual one that we normally give.
So there's a request there, a recommendation that the council consider the donation request from Greg for $7,000.
Through the chair again, Is it in the budget? Did we put it in this year's budget from last year? If it's a reoccurring one that we regularly do, has it been done?
We'd have to take that on notice and look at exactly what we've got detailed in those budgets. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So did you want to change recommendation, or do you want to leave it as it is?
It's probably through the chair, if I may, Mr. Mayor. It is the message we as a council have to talk every day about being mindful that these things come every year. They should be in our budget. I was unaware if it is or not.
Yeah. Probably what we should be supplied with is a list of what is in our donations budget.
Yeah. what we've actually allowed for and what
Yeah.
we haven't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the Christmas Grinch and say, no, you can't have it this year.
Yeah, but I
I'm
still
not
think
gonna
it's a good
vote against
idea
it,
that
but
we,
it's something we really need to work out really
I
hard.
agree.
And when these come to council, we need to say this was included in our budget, discussions early in the year, so that yep, good. If it's not, it wasn't included in our budget
I
discussion.
think as Mary Ann was saying, that policy,
Yeah.
which we advertise, and we
Or
know
even when
from
they
the
come to
start,
us, whether it was included in our budget
Yeah.
consideration.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm
would
not
someone
going
like
to
to
be the Christmas Grinch.
move? Councillor Stewart, second to Councillor Kelly, all in favour?
Right.
Information.
We'll just wait for Councillor Nicholson to
Oh, yeah.
briefly return.
But yeah, good.
So we're on to item 8.1.16 is the information bulletin, which is information provided and correspondence provided and attached for the report to be received and noted.
I'll move that.
Move Councillor Bowden, second Councillor Nicholson, all in favour? Right, 131.
Item 8.2.1 is a donation to Town and Country Club, Cootamundra, and there's a recommendation there that council donate the sum of $2,831.24 to the incorporation.
Mr. Chair, I move the recommendation. We went through a fairly long process with this last year, including presentation to council. I think everyone's fully aware of the reasons, so I'll move the recommendation.
Move Councillor Graham, second to Councillor Bowden, all in favour?
Item 8.2.2 is the monthly finance report for August 19. The report's been put up to be received and noted.
Through the chair, I just Tim wasn't here when we spoke earlier. Tim, I just did some simple calculations. I know it's only 2 months, and I'm aware of all those things. But we can multiply the wages by 6. Well, our wages budget is running at about $1.4 million over budget, and then our other expenses are also running way out over budget. But that may be explained through some of the one-offs that have happened, such as insurance and that type of thing by now. But anyway, it's just a comment, just quick calculation.
Just at the page I'm looking at, we're at 17% of our budget for the year, which would be less than 1/6.
Yeah, I understand that, but I've just looked at the individual line items. Like expenditures broken into employee costs, borrowing, materials. So if you look at consolidated total of wages year to date, 2.2 mil, multiply that by 6, it's way above 11.9 on an annual basis. That's just how I did the simple calculations.
Well, and it's got 18.54, which is nearly a fifth. Yeah, so if you did stand it out.
Yeah, it's certainly something for us to keep an eye on. Possibly some of those, I'd have to look into it more closely. Possibly some of those costs would be incurred on capital projects from the major projects list.
Good point, and we talked about that at the workshop, and I know we come to it earlier, but I mean, that's something that most councils, but me particularly, have been building away about for a couple of years, that staff who are employed on specific projects, their costs have to go against that project so that it doesn't impact on our general funds. Because that's where it's showing here.
Yeah.
It's simple as that. So it's not a case of we all keep saying yes, we'll do it, yes, we'll do it. The projects are going to be finished, everyone's going to be happy with the projects, and we still haven't done it, and our general fund's going to be looking even worse.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the point that you put up here on the screen in the workshop.
Yeah.
About why we've got problems with that loan.
Certainly, our operational staff do get directly costed to those jobs, and it's something we anticipate bringing back to next council meeting, a firm methodology for how the staff that oversee those projects are allocated to those jobs as well. We'll come back to next council meeting.
Any other questions there?
You had some, want somebody to move that?
Yeah, move Councillor Phillips, second Councillor Graham, all in favour. Carried. Investment report in 141.
Item 8.2.3, there's a recommendation there that the investment report as of the 31st of August 2019 be received and noted.
I just an extension of something a point Councillor Sheen made during the workshop is that it'd be good to be able to reconcile back. I've done a bit of reconciliation, but I'm probably wrong. Reconcile back from we started with $53 million worth of projects. We've committed 26 mil. We haven't got about 12.5 of sewage money yet. I think I'm right in saying that. So, you know, you look at that. We're still up for 14 mil that's hit our bank account that we've still got to spend. So you take that 14 mil out of that 24, and right across all our, it's not looking very pretty. I'm sorry to say.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And I hope you can prove me wrong.
Come back.
I don't think I can. I think you're right. And it's certainly something that's probably our main concern at the moment is our unrestricted cash position going forward.
So I'll just add, council's got its finance committee. We're going to work hard on our budget stuff over the next couple of weeks and present a report back to the November council meeting on some of the findings and some of the recommendations to move forward with.
All right, someone like to move that investment report? Move Councillor Stewart, second Councillor Palmer, all in favour? Carried.
Item 8.2.4 is a monthly major projects program report. There's a recommendation there that the progress report on the project status be received and noted, and that the recommended changes to the project budget as listed be adopted. We talked a little bit before about council borrowing funds to pay for the water main replacement project, and we've hit a bit of a hurdle that we need to work through with our finance committee in terms of borrowing from TCOP.
We would still be managing 110. I suppose when you go through it. Now, any questions on those projects?
Just through the chair for a point, if Tim could just clarify it for me. Just the water reserve balance at 30 June 18 was 5.8. That was the actual reserve. Combined. Okay.
Councillor Phillips, second Councillor Nicholson, all in favour?
I just wonder whether we should add to that recommendation, whether we should put a time frame on getting some of these things in place, because if there is problems with getting funding through loans or whatever, we just can't let it draw out because it's going to snowball.
Yeah, agreed. That's kind of why we called the meeting of the finance committee, so we can go through that straight away.
Do you want to wait till they have the finance committee, then bring it back to next council? Oh. Well, that was Councillor Phillips, second Councillor Nicholson, all in favour. Carried.
Item 8.4.1,
52.
page 152, modification application for DA 101048 subdivision at Adelong Creek Road, Tumbalong. I'm not going to read through the entire recommendations, but council approved the modification of development consent for that development, subject to the conditions.
I can say that I spoke to the applicant and he's happy with the conditions.
Yeah, I'm happy to move it that way.
Yeah, moved Councillor Shane, second Councillor Phillip, all in favour, carried. He rang me today. Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, yeah. Hey. Oh, show of hands, yes. Now.
Okay, so item 8.4.2 on page
160.
160 is the exhibition of the draft rural land strategy. There's a recommendation there that the strategy be placed on public exhibition for a period of no less than 28 days.
Just a comment, if I could, through the chair. Can council certainly make this advertised that everybody needs to have a quick browse of this over the next 28 days?
Yeah.
This has far-reaching impacts on our LEP, and the community needs to be well aware of what is in this draft document.
So I believe we've got a consultation strategy in place for that. So it'll be advertised in all of our media sources. Take on board your comment.
If I may, and it's just an issue that I have noticed that everything we do has to go out on 28 days notice, and then the staff have to gather all that submissions and actually put a report together. But most often our one council meeting is only 30 days apart.
Yeah, exactly.
Something I've been thinking a bit about is under legislation, council must meet at least 10 times a year. And it's something for councillors to think about. I was going to perhaps suggest we meet 10 times or 11 times a year every 5 weeks, so that when these come, because technically we move that tonight, the staff will not have had time to put all the submissions together before our next meeting. So then really it's the next meeting before so it's 60 days we're actually talking about it rather than doing something. And it's just something I was thinking about, whether we go away from a regular monthly meeting and have 5 weekly meetings, but it'd have to be a calendar set out way in advance. And it actually fix a lot of this up. So once we had our submissions, we could actually have an accurate report before us and we could make a decision as quickly as possible. Just a thought, that's all.
I agree with what you're saying. A lot of times we get submissions, you can't get until the day of the meeting.
Yeah. Well, we've got some mail today that only come today. Okay.
I think it's certainly worth thinking
Anyway,
about. Picking
just
up
think about it.
So a council sets its meeting days, times, and that sort of thing. So we'll need to put a report together towards December this year for next year's meeting schedule. So we might make some recommendations around that if that's what you desire.
Okay. Thank you. And other than that, I'll do the recommendation.
Move Councillor Phillips, second Councillor Stewart, all in favour? Carried. 162.
Item 8.4.3 is the control of public reserve 88379 lot 7022 in DP 94977, the corner of Gundagai and Dugong Roads, Cootamundra. There's a recommendation there that council accept the appointment of land managers of the public recreation reserve and an additional purpose of the environmental protection and sustainable grazing as a reserve purpose is fenced out of the environmental, on the condition that the grazing area is fenced out on the environmental protection area be permitted.
Question. The fences on that block are pretty ordinary along the road. Whose responsibility is that and whose cost? Is there water there as well? If you're going to graze it, is there access to water?
I don't believe there is
I'm
any
going to have to take that question on notice. I'm unfamiliar with the block and whether water is available.
No, I know I spoke about it several years ago now, and there's no water there. The only way it'd be of any benefit would be the adjoining neighbour. who could use access water from their own place.
Still, that fence on the road just is non-existent.
Yeah, just through the chair. I have to reinforce Councillor Sheen's attitude. The fence is non-existent. It is not stock-proof. It's falling down. It's a huge cost for somebody.
Is this a case of Crown Lands just pushing the cost across to us?
I think you're going to find over the next couple of years, as the changes to the Crown Land Act come into force, I think you're going to find the Crown approaching us on lots of different reserves and asking councils to consider taking on that liability. So it's probably first one of multiple that you'll see in front of council.
Well, having said that, it might, in relation to what Councillor Shannon and Councillor Palmer said, it might pay then to say, well, what's it going to cost us to put water there, and what's it going to cost to fix the fence?
How far is the water?
So because if we're going to take over an asset, and you're going to have those things right, we need to know what we've got to spend there, and then how long it's going to take us to recoup that money.
Yeah, you would potentially get that funded at the moment under a Crown land grant, because Crown owns the land, we're the land manager on behalf of it. We would apply to the Crown under their 6 monthly grant program at the moment, but they'll phase that out. They're trying to phase out the expenditure on land. They're trying to gift land to other authorities like councils.
Get the money to put water in the fence there.
Yeah. Well, whoever leases it in the future.
Therefore, it's going to cost me for the last.
Get a bit of money for leasing it.
Just through the chair, if I may, that land was once many years ago like a gymkhana ground. I remember it being used for a gymkhana. It has been used, I think, as a go-kart track at one time too in the past. So there is probably recreational benefits in the land, but we have to put that out to the public to get that response back. Just to take it on and then to put it up as this recommendation saying as a grazing block, there's those commitments to water and fencing, which I don't think at this stage we're in a position to do.
Through the chair, Mr. Yeah, like it's first, the first thing is that public recreation reserve, and if it's a public recreation reserve, we don't have to do anything. It's just a public recreation reserve, and we can see how it pans out with grazing.
Just in response to Councillor Bowden, you can say we don't have anything to do, but we have a fire responsibility, like to keep it under control. We have weeds to manage, which come there. There are responsibilities that come with it, even if it's just a recreation plot.
Sharon, did you want to say something?
To the chair, if I may, we've been approached by the Crown to see if we wanted to take on the reserve as land managers. The primary purpose of the reserve still remains public recreation. They've suggested that if we were to look at leasing it, as they have been approached by several people who they've given me the contact names and numbers for. I haven't included that in the report for privacy reasons, who've approached the Crown to be permitted to graze it. If we were to lease it for grazing, whoever we leased it to would be responsible for maintaining their stock on that site. The point 2 in the recommendation is there is a place on the site that we've mapped, or that has been mapped as having significant biodiversity or vegetation, and that's why that number 2 has been put in there, an additional purpose for environment protection and sustainable grazing be an additional permitted use. As has been discussed here tonight, at the moment we are not Crown land managers. However, I was at a forum today where Crown Land was present, and they gave us a presentation, and I would like to workshop the implications with councillors in relation to the changes of the Act in the not too distant future.
Just through the chair, just continuing on from that, that's been unutilised for in excess of 15, 20 years. There is a weed infestation problem there that somebody needs to address, and it will not be the cheap fix.
Just through you, Mr Mayor, the RFS burnt that out as a hazard reduction about 8 years ago. I don't think it's been touched since.
I understand why they want us to take it on.
Do you wish?
Probably on the and on the issues with it. Yeah. So, how did you want it worded?
So not accept these recommendations.
Council
After the workshop.
further discussion. Move.
From my understanding, in the protocol, is we leave it on the table, so it actually sits there until we put that up and so we need to go away and go further. Investigation will start and then come back.
Council to investigate further.
Or whether it's going to be next meeting again.
Yeah, I think that way. Point of view.
Do you want to read it? How do you want to write it? That's the one
Could we just seek a comment from our planning department? Is there a time frame or is there a pressure on getting a comment back to the lands department?
Through the chair, they are chasing us for an answer. Irrespective of what that answer is, a yes or a no, I don't know that they're phased one way or the other.
Mr Mayor, was it that we were going to seek clarification from them with regards to the fence, the funding of the fencing and the funding of the weed control? Was that not what we mentioned? And water? Yeah.
We have an inspection of it sometime prior to our next workshop over there. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think.
The corner of Jugiong Road and Muddimer Road. The other option is well, we're not in the position to because we don't actually manage the land at this stage, is make a public inquiry to see if there are recreational groups or clubs that may be interested in that sort of a parcel of land. Like if there's BMX bikes or something or whatever, then that's could be utilised in that way. But at this stage, we don't have that information, so perhaps council could.
Well, what Councillor Phillips, basically your motion was to further investigation.
Yeah, further investigation.
Move Councillor Phillips to have further investigation. Second Councillor Graham. All in favour? Carried.
Item 8.4.4 is the removal of restriction on land to permitted dwelling on lot 183 DP 1078686 Burke Street, Gundagai. There's a recommendation there that council release a restriction as to user to allow an application to be lodged for the erection of a suitably designed dwelling to be erected on the said lot at Burke Street, Gundagai, and that the cost associated with the release of the restriction as to user be borne by those seeking the release.
This is, I presume, where the Lions Club used to own that block. Yeah. I got from council, I got no issue. Move Councillor Bowden, second of Councillor Kelly. All in favour?
Item 8. Do you need to show a hand for that? No. Item 8.4.5 is development applications approved for August 2019, and there's a recommendation there that the information be noted.
Move Councillor Phillips, second Councillor Farmer. All in favour? Carried.
Item 8.4.6 is the exhibition of the draft Cootamundra 2050 strategy. There's a recommendation there that, again, the strategy be placed on public exhibition for no less than 28 days.
Everyone happy? Move Councillor Stewart, second Councillor Bowden. All in favour? Carried.
Item 8.7.1 is a bitumen sealing tender for 2019. There's a recommendation there that council accept the 2019 to 2021 bituminous sealing contract to Bitchpave Limited, Boral Asphalt. And 2, that council approve the option of a 12-month extension with a further report to be submitted for consideration prior to the 21-22 financial year.
Councillor Phillips, second Councillor Baden, all in favour?
Item 8.
Farmer, did I say Phillips again?
Item 8.7.2 is the Civil Works Report for September 2019, and the recommendation is that the report be received.
Just a question on that one. The Thompson Street drainage line, who is that? All right, I'm thinking of Thompson Street down in town, but it's back up on there. Okay.
It comes up Campbell Street and heads up the top. It's been on the card for a while. Any questions on it?
No, I'll move that.
Move Councillor Nicholson, second Councillor Kelly, all in favour? Carry.
Item 8.7.3 is a plant replacement for a motor grader. The recommendation that the council approve the procurement of a John Deere grader from Semco through a 36-month lease agreement with an option to purchase a machine at the expiration of the lease, and 2, that council approve the existing grader be disposed by auction.
Just a way of discussion on this one, if I can, Mr Mayor. As Councillor Graham and myself had mentioned in the workshop, the cost of leasing is an issue. It's a direct cost to council. And when I remember reading through the quotations that you're trading a Caterpillar, you've got a pretty good trade, and your best price was through Caterpillar again, which is replacing the same machine, yet you've gone under the thing here to go to the John Deere because it met other criteria, and you have a John Deere working here, I think. But again, looking at budget, costs, and overall costs, if you've had good service out of Caterpillar and that's going to provide you the cheapest machine, and they have a good reputation anyway, why aren't we saving 60 grand there? That's what I saw on the thing, that was 60 grand.
Chair, the recommendation is that the John Deere is probably a better machine, suits our needs going forward into the future. Yes, there is a lot more expense involved with it, but that was a recommendation from staff and tank operators.
Further comments? Yeah, I know what they're saying.
Well, I'm just coming from a budget point of view.
Yeah,
if there's 60 grand to be saved and the machine's going to do the same job and it has done the job in the years, I can't see why you'd be changing and spending an extra 60 grand. That's all.
Through the chair, if I could, just a comment. I note that the John Deere is a bigger engine, much more horsepower, and has a 5-year warranty, where Caterpillar is only 3. And from taking note from the staff, one would assume that they are looking for something with a bit more oomph than what the Caterpillar offers. And you put that into the mix and the fact it's got a 5-year warranty, I actually support the idea of going to the John Deere.
Would it retain its basically resale value better?
Through the chair, yes, we believe it would have a better resale value in time over the Caterpillar with this model.
Any further discussion? No. Did you want to say something?
Did you want to say something about the lease?
Well, how, there is a recommendation that the council consider leasing. We just talked about our funds, and we're earning a bit over 2% in those funds. You go out into the public arena, you're probably going to get borrowed at somewhere between 3.5% and 5%. I would think. I haven't leased much for a while, but I mean, that's what I think it'd be. Maybe so. Therefore, if we go down that path, we're just going to add another cost to council. So we probably need to look look at trying to do it through an internal loan, given the fact that if you look at the projections for the plant fund in about 3 years' time, as Phil correctly pointed out today, we're going to have around about 1.1 back in funds, because where it's caught up with us is our lack of plant income in the 17-18 year, which is well documented. So my view is that the recommendation is we should look to fund it internally rather than going out and leasing it in the public arena.
I think that'd be the most logical thing to start with.
Through the chair, well, if that's an option, then probably a better way to own the machine than lease it and pay it off. So I concur with that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The reason I put that up there was an option to spread the money out. But that's yes.
So would you like, Councillor Owen, would you like to change the second part of that recommendation? Yeah.
Just one observation, that if we did fund it through internal borrowings, we would be lowering our unrestricted cash further. So just something to be aware of. Yeah.
I'm not trying to go for loans.
Not that I'm opposed to that idea at all, but it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah, without sitting down the finance meeting and having a good look at it with you, Tim, I can't answer that. I'm just going on basic logic of where to try and minimise the cost is where I'm coming from at the moment.
Should the second part of this then be, if the finance committee is meeting within the next 2 weeks, to look at how we finance this, whether we internally finance it or go outside, something like that. Put it back onto the finance committee, or put our trust in to do. Yeah. So everyone's happy with the first part. Councillor Graham, would you like to move that we?
Well, we're not happy with the first part because it says council approved the procurement
No, it's got the lease in it.
of a John Deere grader,
Yeah,
right? Full stop.
Full stop.
Yeah.
There.
Get rid of the rest.
Yeah.
Council look at funding options, and the finance committee recommend back to council.
Yeah, well, council finance committee look at funding options.
Yep.
I'm happy if it's got yeah, put delegated authority to council finance. Well, Councillor Kelly, would you like to move that? That's not the move, Councillor. No, the delegated authority to the finance committee to decide how to be funded. I just thought I'd get someone outside the finance committee. Move Councillor Kelly, second Councillor Nicholson, all in favour? Carried.
Item 8.7.4 is the plant replacement program update for September 2019. There's a recommendation there that the council approve the amended plant replacement program as tabled.
Through the chair, there's been some changes since that was first put together in March as an item of plant there, the water truck. Correct me there that I mentioned chassis. It's the frame of the water tank that is rusted out, not the chassis of the truck. There's a water crew truck that needs to be replaced. It's nearing 200,000 kilometres on it. It gets a fairly hard life doing its job. A tipper that was inadvertently dropped off from last year's plant replacement program and needs to be included, and we have a prime mover there that's nearing its useful life.
Any questions to Mark or comments?
Yeah, just one, Mark. If there's any way, or given where our plant fund is, of getting any extra life out of any of this plant, because ultimately at the end of the day when you trade them, you're going to get the same money, which is bugger all. So I'd be like recommending that if there is any way of getting another year out of plant that's maybe not that heavily used, then I would say it'd be prudent of this council to advise you to go that way, because we just haven't got a bottomless bucket of money and it's going to run out quick.
Yeah, through the chair, yeah. I did make a couple of alterations there where we pushed a couple out. As, for example, that putting a new water tank on that truck will get us through another 5 years out of that truck. And there's a couple of others there that we can probably push back a bit. But going forward, yeah, we can look at how they're going. The big issue we have nowadays is getting rego checks on some of these vehicles. And if we don't comply, we're shot for those vehicles. So we've got to be up there.
Mark, how's it with your tippers? Are they all dogs? Got dogs too? I remember like with going back when we did a plant revision 2006. You know, we cut the dozer and utilised time, and we cut from 3 trucks to 2 by introducing dogs. So the Cooper trucks got dogs. Yeah, but we did end up knocking the truck off too. Yeah, double the capacity. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, through the chair, they have got dog with big trailers on them, and there is a semi-tipper too that can be utilised on the plant. Yeah.
That's all. That's the only question.
Chair? Mark, I have a question. I'm really bad at maths, but with the revised trade-in, no, is it that it's about 50,000 more now? And is that because there's more stuff being traded in, or values have increased, or?
Through the chair, look, they were fairly conservative, those values that were put in there back in March. There's a couple there that really stood out with differences, like our dozer that we had up for sale, we expected a trade of 40,000 originally. Now the auctioneer said it's worth 70. So there's a couple of big differences there. So look, if they go to market, it could go the other way too, but these seem to be more realistic than what we've got.
Good question. Right, we got. Is there any other questions?
Just one, did you sell the dozer?
The dozer's been utilised in the last couple of months because it's been pushing in material out at the stock tip, the material from the waste. So it's still on the books, and as soon as we finish that project, we're looking at sending it down to.
I only asked the question because I think it got 10 hours of use in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's clicked up. It's clocked up a few hours in the last 6 weeks or so. Yeah.
No other questions? I've got the report that moved Councillor Stewart, second Councillor Phillips. All in favour? Carried.
Page 184, 8.9.1 is an electricity procurement. Council's current contract arrangement finishes up towards, I think, December this year. So there's a recommendation here. I won't read it all out, but we've got to make some pretty quick decisions when you go to market and the electricity tender. You've got time frames where you've got to make decisions in a 48-hour period, and therefore the requirement to come back to council with a full tender evaluation and determination on our meeting cycles doesn't fit in with that type of flexibility. So there's a section of the Local Government Act that allows you, under certain circumstances, to do this sort of thing. So that's the idea of recommendation number 1. And council obviously then needs to delegate the authority of the general manager to execute contracts for these electricity procurement outcomes. The interesting thing is we've joined with a group of our REROC counterparts plus Centroc plus some Western Sydney organisation of councils. So the tender that goes out, we're likely to get good value for money because we've got such a large buying entity, and we're dealing with a group of people who are absolute experts in this field. we are looking at getting a price back to at least include 20% of council's electricity load as renewable power. You know, I guess at the moment, it would be fair to say that on most days, coal fire is probably cheaper than renewables. So, but we're going to the market to get the differences in that. So we'll be in a position to make a decision, you know, based on cost and.
So we just remind, so if it's cheaper through coal, we're not just going to go and buy solar and wind just to give you a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. We're going to be sticking with the cheapest options. Yeah.
Yeah, but we want all the companies to come back with proposals so we can see what those sort of figures are. This is what the core group of all councils are requesting. So I didn't just come up with numbers. Yeah.
I'll move the recommendation.
On page 1 and 5, I just think it's quite a struggle to explain the study population.
No, I think we are.
No, we're bigger, but we're not that far in front of them. Yeah, circumstances brought us together. We had different electricity arrangements, and that was our baseline cost. Yeah, I agree. I'm just not sure what sort of large consuming elements they have. We obviously have water and sewerage as probably our biggest assets, and we have a number of council buildings and that. I'm not sure what they're dealing with. So, but certainly our figures are going to be comparable next time because we're going out with the same, getting the same rates.
So you'd expect ours to drop a considerable amount by like in the hundreds of thousands?
You can't hold me to that. It's a market. I think we'll save at least 10-15% on our existing power bills, at least.
So you say Temora Shire, like we nearly double them, aren't we? And they got, and they, you know, they got 8,000. So
Mr. Mayor, that our energy price is $660,000 per annum. That seems a phenomenal amount. Should we be looking possibly outside the square and how can, or maybe this is something for the finance committee as well, how can we possibly save some money? Is it that David? Turn the lights off? Possibly not. Is it that we look at investing in renewable energy for the administration buildings, and let's look outside the box to possibly save some substantial dollars there?
Yeah, so we are as a finance committee looking at those. So they're on our list of proposals. Council, we've already brought 2 representatives to workshops on power purchase agreements. So we got a proposal from the local government procurement people out of Wagga. I forget the name of the company, Solar Power, Solar Planet, or whatever. That they've done a proposal to capital invest and put solar on all of our council facilities at no cost, and then there's a payback period. And likewise, we had a proposal from the solar farm people from Cootamundra at one of the workshops. So we're just sorting through those arrangements. And yes, we need to do something different because it doesn't matter if we've got a good rate. If we've got too many, we should be looking at alternate options. So that'll be on the list of recommendations that the finance committee will put through to you in November, definitely.
So where are we sourcing this? Like you've got all the Re-Rock councils and Re-Rock and whatever the other rock, wasn't it, Ramp, Centrock and all those. So we've got a fair bit of clout there as in the sort of good price. But even with Bland, that they'd be less than double us. You must have found a reason.
Tim's telling me there is an error in that figure. This figure was given to us by Re-Rock after they'd done all the tweaking and all that. Tim's saying to me the numbers he's just punched out of our finance system shows us having $398,000 last year. So I'm going to have to go back and check those figures. Yeah, Gundagai's got its own treatment plant and it's got multiple pumps working through the system. So it's a high consumer of electricity. The recommendation doesn't talk. Yeah, it won't change the number. No.
Through the chair, if I may, Mr. Mayor, 2 meetings back, I put a motion to council, which was passed for a full detailed report on efficiency, energy efficiency. So we're waiting for that. That'll be in the early new year. I gave you that time frame to do that, outlining all possible savings that we can make by putting solar panels on all our infrastructure, looking at street lights to solar lights. So that's in response to your question there, Councillor Nicholson. That should be in the process of happening and should address all those issues.
This recommendation is pushing us in the right direction.
Yeah. Move Councillor Shane, seconded Councillor Stewart. All in favour? Carried. 190, I think. Is it?
Item 9.1 is notice of motion. The lighting schedule for replacement of Fisher Park be donated to the Cootamundra Rodeo Association. So it was put forward by Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, just through you, Mr. Mayor. I've been talking to the small hard-working committee at the Rodeo Association. I'm not sure if councillors know or not, but they had a small rodeo a while ago. It was very well supported by the community. They're looking to get them going again. The Cootamundra Rodeo grounds, actually, I think it's only the only one in Australia, or New South Wales and possibly Australia, that's actually a natural amphitheatre. And years ago, they used to have the rodeo was a huge, big thing. There used to be street processions. They used to do under lights and all that. And I remember as a kid running up and down the stairs and all that. And they want to get back into doing those night rodeos if they can as well. So I was speaking to Wayne about these lights at Fisher Park, and there wasn't going to be any use for them. So I said, well, I spoke to the Rodeo Association. They'd love to take the poles and the lights and look at doing something out there with them. So I'd hope that everyone supports this motion.
They go with them, the rodeo ground. I don't know. Any comments?
I support Councillor Kelly's motion.
Yep. We've got a recommendation with it, have we? Yeah. Move Councillor Kelly, second Councillor Nicholson. All in favour?
Item 9.2 is a notice of motion. Cootamundra-Gundagai Local Area Traffic Committee developed draft guidelines for roadside trailer advertising, and it was put forward by Councillor Sheen.
Yeah, I've brought this motion to the council because I'm flagging a possible conflict between council and people with trailers advertising on the roads. And as the motion states, I want to, ensure that we are cooperative with those people and try and find an amenable resolution so that all parties and the act is addressed.
Yep.
Does it include signage sitting on the footpath that is not nailed down or
No,
a separate policy?
no, this act covers trailable signs and structural signs.